Welcome back to the Western Clash. We are getting closer and closer to the end of the weekend. We have one more match here on the Saturday to bring you guys home, but don't worry. I've got the party desk here to bring out all the analysis. We got Tetra on the left, and we got Jayhao there on the far side here. Jayhao, how you feeling, buddy?
Much better now that the curved desk makes me look proportionally shorter compared to Tetra, so it feels good. But for Octalysis, I don't think it still helps, right? Every bit helps right now for me. But you know, for me, getting to this point, Octalysis versus the leftovers at this stage of the game, the fact that one of these teams will be moving their way closer and closer towards the top four is kind of wild to me.
Tetra, quickly before we go in, has this surprised you with these two teams?
I mean, the fact that leftovers have managed to perform so well to get to this point, to fight their way through, and we have seen them get here.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of faith. The number 4 seed against Octalysis right now. Right now, leftovers been looking good, and Octalysis, they're trying to bring a second American team into the top 4.
Well, how did we get here? Let's go ahead and check out the brackets from Friday all the way to now. As mentioned, leftovers a bit of a surprise, making it this far as the number 4 seed from Europe, and they'll be facing off against Octalysis. Both these teams have had a pretty solid run so far. Up in the top right corner, you can see Dignitas and Team Freedom will be playing tomorrow in the winners final. That'll be a great match. And then, of course, waiting on the winner of this matchup is Team Method.
The part about this series is that both of these teams love to throw down. And if you like team fighting, these two teams are about to bring it.
I wonder if leftovers might have to evaluate that, though. They're throwing down, wound up being a couple of throws against Team Freedom. Team Freedom shut them down pretty aggressively. Greyman, in particular, by DAB, was not on point.
No, they weren't able to execute it. There were a couple really nice plays with disengage, but overall it was shut down. They weren't able to get anyone low enough to make the value out of go for the throat. And if you can't do that, then Greymane, he's fantastic for core races and does a lot of damage, but otherwise he really struggles.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at Octalysis here, who has made it to this Saturday. And this team continues to impress, and it's led by a pretty strong warrior. Justin there loves to play his Diablos and his Murdens.
His competitive experience at this part, he's a veteran. He is a long-term veteran now, alongside his teammates, especially Bud's. Childhood friends they are, so they will bring a lot. But that last face that we saw was that of Draded.
Yes.
He's the new face here, is trying to get more of his experience. He goes back to the dorm days, by the way, from last year.
Draded's been around for a while. We've seen him in Hero League, we've seen him in dorm, as you mentioned, but I feel like he has started to fit naturally into this team. He's had a couple of moments where he's really showed up as an assassin player, and we need him to continue doing that if they want to win against leftovers.
He's also been bringing out a couple of those very interesting picks. I believe it was him on the Medivh earlier on, which was a hero that we haven't seen in a while for Octalysis. So seeing that brought out is absolutely fascinating and shows that they are growing as a team, as you mentioned.
Bud's so interesting to me. Coming over from Europe, well, I consider Buds to be the support Nick, if that makes any sense for Team Method. He's just quiet and just makes sense
at all.
Okay, of course. Thank you, Jayhao. I'm glad we brought you on the desk.
I get what you're saying, though. I mean, it's just you don't hear a lot from him. You don't really see it, but all of a sudden you're like, man, he sure did do a lot that game. Like, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, family is... Good job, man. Family is here for Draded supporting. It's always good to see family members showing up, cheering on the players. I think BBJ's mom was one that I really enjoyed in the last Western Clash that we had, so we'll see if we get more of the family coming in here and saying hi. Now, of course, we're preparing for our other team on the right side, the leftovers. Mopsio, of course, leading the charge for this team. Linked on the support role has been doing pretty darn well, but everyone talks about Mopsio. He has came in and given this team life.
Mopsio brings so much aggression to this team that it enables those behind him, like the names of DAB and teams, to capitalize on his engagements.
And he loves to beat his chest. Can't go wrong with that.
Can't go wrong with that, indeed. But we already mentioned DAB. He may have struggled in some of the in the last series, but his Li Ming play earlier on in the tournament was absolutely insane. If he's given the space to work with, and the talent to do something like that for starters, but if he's given the space to work with, then he is definitely one of the most feared assassins in this tournament. But Linked, for starters, classy. For second, an absolute god on so many supports at the moment, but we already heard leftovers get called out hero pool-wise early on.
Yeah, Blakitny in particular, been playing a lot of Maiev, but we'll see if that's being taken away from him. It's a known favorite over in Europe. And again, coming back to DAB, you mentioned that space that he had on Li Ming. The issue is that Team Freedom didn't give them space, Mopsio or DAB. Maiev was left alone. Blakitny was able to get a couple of nice engages, but you can tell that the start of this team starts with Mopsio and DAB getting the engages they want. If they can't get that, they seem to stall out.
For Octalysis, they were able to watch that series earlier, started to see some of the things that worked in draft. They have a familiar opponent in Team Freedom, a team that they've played numerous times, know that strategy. They know how to implement some of those into their own, whether it's the Maiev, whether it's the Diablo. We're going to find out because, as Lutano said, their #1 strategy and only strategy really in that series was to ban out Diablo from Mopsio. So we'll see if he makes it through because Justin also loves to play Diablo.
Tetra, any early thoughts?
I just really hope that we see some fantastic team fights in this, but Leftovers, we've shown how effective they can be in the team fights. I'm curious to see if Octalysis actually takes us in a different direction, adjusting to exactly what Freedom did, either giving Leftovers no space or trying to play the map against them. I'm curious to see what kind of style they do bring to this series.
I'm hoping for many different styles. That's actually what I've enjoyed about Octalysis throughout this entire tournament, is they've had 4 different compositions in their matches that allowed them to play different styles, and they executed on every single one of them. If they can pull that off against the Leftovers and take them out of that cookie cutter type of composition we normally see from the Leftovers, I could see Octalysis making it to Sunday.
Well, the thing for Octalysis has always been, and during league play, I say they're just doing too much. They're doing too much. And so I am actually happy that we're seeing multiple compositions, but the thing that's different now versus where it was, say, week 2 or 3 afterwards, was that they're narrowing, hey, look, we don't need Prismat on melees. We don't need to rotate so many. So they're narrowing their hero pools, but they still have that comfortability of those compositions.
It's totally great to start out and have the huge circumference and pull yourself on in, and we're seeing that result of that as they are doing well in the Western Clash. Let's go ahead and go to Battleground #1 in this best of 5 series as we start the last series of the day. The Battleground we're going to is Volskaya Foundry. In terms of bans, no Towers of Doom and no Dragonshire. Braxton's holdout is up and available.
Dragonshire, we know, was the pick for Team Freedom, and it was a map that they exposed Leftovers on during league play. Again, unable to win on that. And then, of course, Team Freedom picking up game #1 on that map. For Octalysis, they realized that if Hammer comes into play, they've probably got the best Chromie player in the world on the other side with Prismat, so they're comfortable going just about anywhere.
So as we head into Volskaya, once again, such a popular map in this entire tournament.
Yes,
actually,
it is.
Actually one of the highest picked, I believe, but I'll have to check that afterwards. But for now, bringing it in, we've already seen huge priorities on the Maiev for this map, and of course, this would be fantastic for either of these teams.
Curious as to where Garrosh will land in these rotations. Obviously, Murden, I feel like, is the main tank of the entire tournament. We'll see if he's be able to get to that 1-2 pick, but we saw Garrosh earlier, and it was punished by a Sergeant Hammer play by Team Freedom. Leftovers gotta be thinking about that series as they had to deal with Medivh and Hammer shutting down their attempts to even force engages.
Well, the Garrosh, but also Maiev is something that we've seen, and when we took a look at Draded earlier, and it was a matter of he's being able to flex over to these high-impact heroes that are more set-up utility style to allowing that of Prismat to work. So we'll see if that does get targeted by either team or whether we get targeted by cameras. You just never know.
You never know. So we're going to be remaking this draft really quickly. We'll be right back, and then we'll have our first pick coming in. We'll see what exactly it is. Another hero that we've gotten a little bit of viewing pleasure on is Chromie on this Battleground. This is one Battleground team they're still willing to play her.
Yeah, it was against the Sergeant Hammer, which is, once again, very much a China classic. Even with that Mobius loop, that continued harassment onto Sergeant Hammer can really give her a lot of trouble when it comes to positioning herself, forcing her to unseat more often, which with Ambush isn't the worst thing, but it really shuts down a lot of zone control that Hammer has without hard committing to the blow-up, which Dragon's Eye might give you.
Now, for me, the one hero that I've been missing, I know she's had a couple of nerfs, but Tracer, not played as often on this Battleground. She loves open space, and on Volskaya Foundry, you have that open space.
The part that I think has been thwarted so far is the fact that a lot of teams are saying you can't really play it without a Trace or a Tassadar anymore. Is she just doesn't have enough self-sustain, enough damage. Basically, the way it is, it's like normally if your auto attacks are higher, you can trade out higher, so you can trade out more favorably for Tracer. She can stay in there an extra second or 2 longer. Now, since that auto attack nerf, you could only stay in there longer to where you start to trade out at a negative loss, and then all of a sudden you now need that Tassadar to be able to stay alive in those situations. So that's kind of been the trade-off. We haven't seen that Tass Tracer at all, and that does surprise me somewhat, but I can see the decision making.
But we have at least seen the Tassadar from Octalysis in their series versus Tempo Storm. It is the game that they lost, but it is still a hero that they have been shown to be able to play. So perhaps the Tass Tracer might be in the cast, depending on what we see picked. We already have some point-and-click CC in the form of Diablo banned out by Octalysis.
Blaze comes in for the first pick. Something to know is that Leftovers do have Phoenix available to them, and they have prioritized him pretty heavily in the past. There he is with a Deckard Cain for the first pick.
That gives the frontline control between the Plasma Cutter and the slow from Deckard Cain to make sure that he controls whatever frontline is, which makes Garrosh far less appealing. So for Octalysis, we know that Justine loves to play Murd and loves to be aggressive. Is that enough? The reason we might see a Garrosh style or something like that is if they want to go into a Sergeant Hammer composition. This doesn't necessarily say that it's so, but you also have the portal in case you do get that frontline control. You just easily portal into that back line. We'll see if this warrants a Sergeant Hammer ban though.
JL, I'm coming back to you real quick here. Who's the better Medivh player in North America, Rated or Yoda?
Yoda.
Yoda? Yeah. So you think Leftovers can handle this? Because they could not handle Yoda's Medivh.
I think they definitely have the experience after earlier today to at least regroup, rethink about some things that have worked. We'll see if it comes in. The Murd and a big part of that, Sergeant Hammer, obviously not going to be available now. So we'll see how that does play out and how different it feels for Octalysis.
Another interesting point here is the fact that with Diablo and Muradin banned out and Garrosh taken, so the tanks sort of come down to this. The Johanna is picked up. It does still empower Phoenix a little bit. That shield smash is pretty decent slows, and of course they have the Thrallfleet Earthquake now. So overall, they're pretty well set up to engage, set up for the Purification Salvo with Deckard as well. Everything here works, even if it might not be the usual Lightning Breath or Thunderclap style that we might usually see.
For me, I'm hoping that Leftovers rounds out this draft with potentially a Junkrat pickup, being able to control those portals, but also just give a little bit more wave play on the battleground and, of course, Poke. But over Octalysis, they'll finish it up with a Raynor and a Malfurion, so we got some Jimmy in the mix.
I like the Raynor pickup a lot here. It gives you more sustained frontline control. When you have a Medivh going into another mage style, you're basically running double mage at that point for the majority of your damage. Raynor gives you that frontline control, has a nice safe auto attack range, has the armor to deal with the salvo, tranquility to deal with the salvo, and then also a bunker and a force of will. You've got several defensive options to survive the onslaught, and Leftovers, we'll see if that Junkrat does help disrupt against these portals.
The only thing about a Junkrat, if it does get picked up, you can't get onto Raynor, so they switched up and bring out a Genji instead. Trying to give you some tools to jump on Raynor. Will it be enough though, Tetcher?
It's very interesting because for starters, you already mentioned all these protection tools, guys, but the fact is, Genji, if you use those tools, Genji is always going to be a threat. Single X-Strike, single Swift Strike is always going to be a vulnerability to you. If he can get online and try and time against the Medivh, it could be good. It's less portal control. Yep. This is more of a show that Leftovers are planning to dictate the fights themselves rather than play reactionary to those Medivh portals.
And you have the ability to dive forward if a Force of Will is mistimed. That's what you want to be able to do, is find that Medivh trying to run away.
It does feel that way. I think a lot of this will fall onto Podyboss on that Thrall moving forward, making sure that Johanna's great with the Condemns, Bless Shield later post 10 60-second cooldown, but it's a matter of, do you get the Condemns into the Wolf into that Swift Strike and things of that nature that can really confirm those kills.
It's all about execution. Let's go over to Kaldor and Kala, who will be casting the action for you guys at home.
Yeah, we're definitely ready for this one. This should be a really fun game here, and I want to see if Leftovers, after the recent loss that they just suffered, can now refine the motivation and the momentum into the series.
I definitely think they have the potential to do so. On the other side, you know, like, the fact of the matter is, Leftovers, they're such a good skirmish team. You know, you're playing against Octalysis, another team that's very good at skirmishing. I just want to see how these team fights play out. I think composition-wise, they're both looking pretty comfortable. The Genji's a bit of a question mark for me. I think we could have seen, as the analysis was saying, perhaps a Junkrat in that position, maybe even like a Leoric or something like that, but I like these drafts for these teams.
I expect a Junkrat too, because Black Kidney played it a lot, and it helps you to control the portals a bit. We're going to see how Leftovers are going to deal with the situation. We have the blue team starting over to the left here. The Leftovers with a Podyboss on Thrall. We're seeing DAB, of course, on the main damage again with Phoenix for the auto attacks. Linked, on the other hand, on Deckard Cain. Black Kidney himself currently on Genji as expected, and Mopsio on the front line with Johanna.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the right in red, we got Team Octalysis, our representatives from North America. Prismaticism, he's going to be on that Raynor, traded, of course, on Medivh. Justine playing that tank, Garrosh, Buds, supporting the team on Malfurion. Last but not least, we got Goku looking hot on the Blaze.
For me, it's really all about the Medivh play right now. Together with Garrosh, one of the best tools after level 10 is that portal into a taunt. And already we're seeing Octalysis open it up with some aggressive portals towards the left side, trying to threaten the backline of the Leftovers in case they overstep and open up a kill opportunity.
Using those portals to threaten the backline is exactly what they want to be doing, especially when you have the likes of Garrosh. You know, you can use that portal when he doesn't have a whole lot of range to try to find engages that Garrosh otherwise wouldn't have been able to locate. Right now, both these teams just kind of trying to control the four-man rotation between mid and top.
One of the things that's also, as you're talking about rotation, which is a fantastic point here, if you have Medivh, you can just make so many swift attacks onto a single target and try to kill the solo laner, get a bit of an advantage, get some experience as well. And that's something that leftovers have to watch out for. They need to really make sure that they know where exactly is Medivh, where's Garrosh, how can we make sure that we're not getting ganked on the solo lanes.
So I gotta ask you, I absolutely love seeing Mopsio on more playmaking style warriors. What are your thoughts on having him on a Johanna in this game?
I actually really like it simply because I know that it's one of his favorite heroes. Currently, you don't see as much Johanna as in the past, but Mopsio is a player that always moved into Johanna when he was forced to. So I agree a little bit with what Lutano said earlier, that he thought, and Freedom, Team Freedom in particular, but there's a bit of a hero pool problem on the leftover side. And if you look at how many heroes they played in Europe, they have by far the smallest hero pool in played heroes. But every time I talk to them about it, they're saying like, dude, you know, it's not really a problem. We're getting the heroes we want, but if we have to, we can branch out. And I think that Johanna pick is exactly what Mopsio does when you try and target his hero pool.
Blaze was showing bottom, so the engagement of leftovers is there, but they're massively chunked out right now. Body Boss actually gets stunned up by Goku, and First Blood going over to Team Octalysis.
Fantastic jet propulsion that we saw here coming in at the end, and Thrall just no chance to dodge. The fight not quite over yet, as leftovers are absolutely willing to engage a bit more into a potential 4 versus 5. Playing with fire here, if you ask me, especially with Medivh still being in play and opening up the portal behind them.
And it's so important, of course, to get as many items as possible on this map. And when you take that support camp as well, that's a lot of extra experience that you get. Octalysis, a little bit ahead in the rotates. They get this kill. They've got the items on their opponents. They're picking up the siege camp as well. It's big moves.
Yeah, and let's not forget that that little skirmish that we just saw also really helped Medivh to get his stacking process going. Seeing it 15 already, not too bad. We actually saw a lot of North American Medivh players having huge problems completing the stacking process on him. So that little fight over the biotic emitter really helped Raiden.
Even against the leftovers earlier, we saw today that issue with Medivh. So it's nice that Team Octalysis haven't fallen into that trap at this point right now. Octalysis just focusing on the mid clear. Leftovers. Considering these two comps, I really do think this is fairly even. You've got Deckard Cain for that sustained healing. Here comes the portal. They're looking for an engage.
They're going straight in. Body Boss already down to half health, but the rest of the leftovers are jumping into the backline. But Octalysis is there with Goku on Blaze at the front, and Garrosh always opening up some more space.
First control now taken over by Team Octalysis. They're looking to set up. We see Medivh already in bird form, just kind of scouting around, watching as Thrall goes into the bottom lane, because right now, leftovers, they're trying to generate some pressure on the map to force Octalysis off the point to see if leftovers can A, perhaps grab level 7 first, or B, get back onto that point to see if they can control it for themselves.
There's also always the chance to get additional items. If that fight is drawn out long enough, the two camps are going to come online again, and then you can try and get that additional turret. DAB not even using theirs just yet, so items are being held back by both teams, trying to wait for that moment when you say, okay, this is the do or die. This is when we need to make our moves. Earlier level 7 for Octalysis is another slight advantage for the North Americans.
Both these teams just posturing, again, Justing, just going through these portals, trying to find picks, but sitting at very low HP right now. Here comes the jet propulsion. Goku looking for those stuns.
Overtime already started. Here comes the Wolf, and they're going for Blaze, and he goes down. Thrall eliminating him, and then Genji goes straight for Drayden. And we just talked about his stacking process, and it's all negated. Leftovers with a double kill.
The North American Medivh curse. Medivh dying here, losing all of those stacks. That was a big play by leftovers. The fight initially started, and it looked pretty good. Goku looking in there, finding, I think, a 2-person jet propulsion, but the turnaround was fantastic. I was questioning Mopsio on the Johanna. I'm not questioning anymore.
Yeah, it was a really nice collapse that they had there. And the one thing that I really want to point out with the composition on the side of Octalysis is also that traditionally when you're thinking about Reyna in Europe, the approach to countering Reyna was always dive him and take him down immediately. Yep. Don't play around in the poke war. Don't get locked into that. You need dive heroes. We don't really have that on leftover side. They need flanks at this point, or try to lock him down with Deckard Cain somehow so that especially Thrall can get close enough. Blessed Shield on 10 is an option for Johanna, but it's going to be tough against Garrosh and Blaze to get close enough to Prismaticism to really crush Arena.
Yeah, good point on the level 10. But speaking of moving in leftovers, trying to find some engagement onto Octalysis, but those portals have been fantastic so far. Once 10 hits, Octalysis is going to have that bunker, but it's not here yet. Leftovers with the first objective of the game.
Yeah, Protector here taken, and once again also just those zoning abilities of Deckard Cain were so powerful here. Linked had a couple of plays in Euro where he single-handedly won complete team fights for his team. And you can see it again. Octalysis suffered so much as Deckard controlled the space and had to move away, gave the Protector up, and now Leftovers. They're trying to prep the top lane. They want the wall, they want the well.
Yeah, this is a big move so far from Leftovers. We're seeing already a half level and a little bit lead for themselves. Despite the fact that Team Octalysis were the ones with the item advantage, you usually don't see something like this happening as easily as it looked, but Leftovers are just absolutely commanding in this game number 1 against Team Octalysis.
And there's always a threat of being snowballed on Volskaya, and that level 10 that we're now seeing is already a big point in favor of the Leftovers. Yep. And they don't even just take the fountain at the top, they are able to eliminate the entire fort and move back into the mid lane. They won't be able to take this one down, but they can at least damage it.
This is an immense amount of value off of this first Protector for the Leftovers. They're almost level 11 at this point. Obviously, all of their heroics locked in, and off of this, they suffered nothing, which means they're going to be able to quickly rotate, pick up the support camp, and just continue to get themselves items, working at that next objective.
One of the things that I've been talking about with Tim on the European broadcast over and over again is just the journey that the Leftovers had, how they developed over time. When that team came into HGC, they missed experience in every rotation. They missed minion waves all over the map and fell behind a level or two without even a single kill happening there. And they improved from week to week. They all of a sudden cleaned up rotations. They were a bit more coordinated in team fights. And then Mobsio joined the team and helped them even more with drafts and with macro decisions. And it made them, it formed them into this team that's made not only to the Western Clash, but also has a great standing there and is now in a position where they might be able to take the first map if they can snowball the early game advantage.
They're definitely playing fantastic at this event. Team Octalysis looking to threaten the invade. There's the taunt, the polymorph, and Phoenix goes down.
Perfect engage against Phoenix here. The jet propulsion missing, but they still get the kill. The bunker's already on the ground, but popping Tranquility here, keeping his boys alive as everyone else is starting to move away. Perfect invade from Octalysis to grab the item, and an immensely important kill at the right moment in time.
Octalysis moved in, but nobody on Leftovers really thought of that rotation from Octalysis. We saw none of the warriors or none of the point men on this composition in the bush. So Team Octalysis were able to just walk in, get that portal, get the pick, and it looked really, really good. And off of that, picking up another turret for themselves.
And it comes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the game. Once 10 is there, having that taunt after a portal engage is just so powerful. And one of your prime targets will be Phoenix. You can execute it against Thrall as well, depending on where he's positioned, but you will always go for Phoenix if you have the chance.
Can never sleep on that Earthquake Salvo combo, though, that Leftovers has. Even though that invade looked really, really good, Leftovers still, I would say, commanding this game. They've got the structural advantage at this point. Next objective will be spawning very shortly here on the top side of the map.
Exactly, and level 13 is, of course, on the horizon for Leftovers. That's another huge challenge advantage if they can get it. There will be a small window for Leftovers, but that should help them to at least get the initial start into the objective. And let's not forget about the fountain that was taken out. You've been talking about the structural advantage, and that's reflected in them taking down the fallback point for Octalysis and also the fountain, so they can't top up in the middle of the fight.
Exactly, and they have a composition where they can set up very well. They've got the potions for Deckard Cain, force Octalysis to maybe come in and then look for a re-engage, kind of bait out that portal. But right now, Octalysis recognize that win condition of Leftovers, immediately rotate into this mid lane, you know, kind of flirting with the idea of a portal, but their main goal there, pick up towers so they can get that level 13, so they can contest this control point as soon as it spawns. It looks like they might be able to get this.
And it's a really smart decision. I really like it. Take a few towers, make sure you get the XP, and at least they're forcing a fight on even talents now. They still have a disadvantage of not having that fallback option, but this is the best that they could hope for. The problem is we still have that healing beacon on the side of Leftovers, but at least the turret advantage goes to Octalysis with the 2 that they're holding right now.
Lakitni on that Genji with Shingan, the level 13 talent choice, can burst down this Medivh when that Force of Will isn't available, so we have to watch out for that interaction. If the Force goes onto the front line, Genji can be diving onto the back line, looking for that one-shot potential.
Talking about Medivh, he is at 21 stacks right now and setting up these portals again, trying to threaten Potipos here in the back. Leftovers playing it slow here. Mopsio with good zoning on that Johanna, holding back the Iron Skin cooldown as long as he can. Here comes the blind. Stay a while and listen as they're moving in. Mopsio wants to negate the bunker. DAB is already low, but he's warping out and they're turning around against Straight. It needs to be careful. He's still not fully stacked here.
Team Octalysis are backing up off of that salvo. Really good disengage. Kind of both of these teams just flexing on each other. Priz forcing back in to try to get a little bit of chunk damage, and right now Octalysis are taking control of the control point.
And here's the big advantage for Leftovers. This is what we've been talking about. They move back to the wall, they top off at the well, and they re-engage. This is the moment when Leftovers are going to try and force that fight, or
Priz is caught.
Force Octalysis off. They're moving back in already. Mopsio here at the front trying to go for Justin. The portal's coming out, defensive ones this time, since Octalysis realizes they need to get out of here.
And this is a very even percentage when it comes to this control point, but Leftovers, they're so smart. Instead of just taking the control of the control point, they just put Johanna up there and they grab the support camp. This is another variable for success for this team.
What Leftovers realize is that Octalysis is now using the portals not for a quick rotation between lanes, but to quickly rotate back to the keep, top off at that fountain back there, and then rotate back in. So they use that small time frame to at least get another biotic emitter, and that is now one of the advantages for them in this fight. DAB again attacked, but moving out. Stay a while, listen, not hitting anything here. And once again, Octalysis with a jet propulsion, trying to jump in.
There's the toss in onto Mopsio. He gets polymorphed up, but this is Johanna. The counter engage from Leftovers is there. They're walking away a little bit. Rooted up now is Johanna, and he goes down. Team Octalysis score the kill in this team fight.
Healing pulse or no healing pulse. Johanna is down. DAB lost the shields and the HP, and they're trying to turn around again. Here comes for the second time the salvo, but nice shields from Medivh. Another Goku jet propulsion, hitting 3. Here comes the attempt to take down Genji, and it works out. Blakidney is down.
Bud survives with almost 0 HP, but he actually gets taken down by the Q of Thrall. Fantastic job, Team Octalysis. It ends up being that 2-for-1, but they have control over this control point, and it's starting to tick up.
But Johanna is going to be back in time. She is going to try and make that move up to the top lane. They might be able to contest it again. And now we have seen Phoenix in the middle, pushing that lane in. So someone on the side of Octalysis has to react, and it's Medivh. But he can't soak the entire wave. He needs to go back up, and Johanna is already on the way. This isn't over yet.
Goku missing that jet propulsion. There is the Force of Will. He has to bunker off of it. The portal is very, very short at that point. But Team Octalysis forced off this point. No bunker available. That's pretty huge for Leftovers.
Benji is down, and here comes another quick blast shield as they're trying to move in. Justin is in trouble. Here comes the seal, and they're going for him. Garrosh is low. The protector in the hands of Leftovers. They wanted the kill in addition to it, but they don't get it, but they still have the objective.
So well paced by the Leftovers. You talked about the fact that they had that structure up top. They backed up. They were faster to do it because they had their well. They tapped. They moved back in. They outplayed Team Octalysis in these fights, especially when Buds walked in and accidentally getting queued by Thrall like that. That's so unfortunate. Second objective of the game, going over to the Leftovers.
I still love the decision-making from Octalysis to use the portal to tap off at the keep and then re-engage. But Leftovers with a perfect reaction as they went for the biotic emitter. Now we have the protector, though, in the hands of the blue team. They have the level 16 talent advantage as well as they're moving through the structures. The outer defenses of Octalysis have now fallen, and Leftovers are going for the first keep wall, targeting the bottom, but we are going to see the next protector spawn.
Exactly. Leftovers, they want to target bottom because that is the location of the next one. They're moving in. They're looking at keep. Buds is actually the focus. There's the Tranquility and the Force of Will, but then the turnaround on Genji.
Genji goes down. Blakidney a bit too aggressive here, trying to confirm the kill against Malfurion, and that didn't happen. Dreaded playing with the heads-up moves here, and once again, we see the trouble in the backline as Phoenix falls too.
Team Octalysis are moving through off that huge CC by the Leftovers in this protector, but that's Deckard Cain and Johanna. The members of Octalysis are moving forward right now. Justin looking to make a play. Linked is caught out.
Yeah, he's sacrificing himself here for the greater good. It's a triple kill that we're witnessing currently. Octalysis, they're trying to make it a quarters. They're moving in for Mopsio, but there's no way they're going to get him to. 3 deaths on Leftovers side.
Leftovers, it looked like they were being a little bit overzealous there. They moved in. Blakidney was just diving a little bit too far. All they really needed to do was take that keep wall, maybe some structural damage. They were looking for the long con. You talked about it yourself, the fact that the next objective was bottom side. That looked like a good play for themselves. They just misexecuted.
I think the plan was great. But then they see Malfurion and they think, oh my god, we can get the kill. And boys, if we can get Malfurion, maybe we can even get the keep. And at that point, you just get a bit too greedy. They dive in deep, Genji falls, and from that on, it's just a massacre because you have Phoenix being attacked by Blaze in the backline, him dying too. And of course, Octalysis with this, all of a sudden, finds themselves on even XP, and also through the map control, could go straight for the items.
Ooh, the portal goes out, and actually Leftovers didn't have vision at that point on Team Octalysis, so they could have backed away from that engagement, but instead it was just it was a smart little portal play there by Medivh.
Yeah, we have the biotic emitter going over the Leftovers, but as I said before, with Octalysis killing 3, they could take the turret on the side of Leftovers. But now it's actually a fight over the one to the bottom right. And a good zone control from Leftovers. This is not a spot where you necessarily want to fight it if you're Octalysis. Medivh is now coming in, but here comes the salvo, here comes the X-Strike. They're going in, but it's negated by the bunker.
The bunker was so good, but now Team Octalysis are thinking about moving back in. They have low health bars. They really don't want to commit anything more at this point, so they just back up. They're just looking to maybe try to find a fight in a better place for themselves.
And at the end of the day, it was a win for Leftovers because they get the turret. There's a lot of cooldowns that are being exchanged here, but all of them should be ready again for the third objective on the map. But this was really the moments when Leftovers said, boys, if you want to fight over this, you're welcome, because we have everything ready here. The bunker negates a lot, but still Octalysis is low and can't grab the turret. So right now, this is all about, can you get a kill somewhere? And we actually see exactly that happening. Phoenix in trouble, and he goes down. Leftovers not paying attention.
Mopsio is now the focus of Team Octalysis, but this is Johanna, folks, going to be able to walk away to safety. 45-second death timers now for Phoenix. Thankfully, the objective isn't up right now, but Team Octalysis know this is their moment to move in. They have the mid wave. They're looking at mid fort. There goes the portal.
And here's the problem. There are so many structures still on the map on the side of the Leftovers. That's free XP for Octalysis right now. Traded completes his quest on Medivh. We see Justin being a bit low here, but if Octalysis can take down a fort, they all of a sudden are going to make that jump in experience that will grant them the earlier level 20.
Now we're seeing, again, just both of these teams kind of positioning in the mid side. Looks like Team Octalysis rotating bottom. They want to start to take control of this control point. As we know, once you take control of it, your opponents actually have to knock you off completely, else it goes into overtime. 5-second death timers on Phoenix. I'm expecting Leftovers trying to pick up as much soak as they can. We see Genji top. They're picking up some soak in the mid lane. They're grabbing their fortification camp here. They're going to be moving in once Phoenix is on the map.
The race to 20 and the attempt to get additional turrets. That's what we're seeing here. Leftovers on the way down to the bot lane. They know another wave is pushing in as we speak, and that should nearly be enough to hit the Storm Talons. They're taking control of the point right now, and Octalysis has to back off for now.
Octalysis are forced into a pretty sticky situation here. You're fighting into multi-items, linked with the turret, Pottyboss with the turret, Mopsio with the support camp. That's a lot of value on the side of Leftovers, and Octalysis know it. Instead, they give a little bit of that control over to Leftovers, and I think that's smart. They look for mid lane, they look for that level 20, but once these 20s hit, we are going to see a portal onto this point.
We definitely will, and here's the 20 now. That's fantastic for Phoenix in particular, because if he gets engaged upon, now he finally has a bit more survivability available to himself here. Johanna also with the Storm Shield over the Indestructible, really trying to deal with the AoE that comes out of Octalysis, as we are seeing the North American team engaging into the control point.
Justin is moving forward. There is the portal. Kind of drop down. We have to watch out for Linked. He has that stay a while and listen. It's the upgrade, respect the elderly, so watch out for this one.
There's so much positioning here, especially DAB needs to be careful, but the Protector is already being grabbed by the Leftovers. Octalysis a bit too late. They get it for free, and all of a sudden we are seeing Octalysis on the run here. They move in. Garrosh goes down for the Leftovers. This is a Christmas present.
What are Team Octalysis thinking? I can't believe they just gave that control point completely over to the Leftovers.
I didn't know that it was Mopsio's birthday today. Happy birthday, buddy. The presents are coming in left and right. You get a Protector, you get a kill. They're taking down Garrosh. They get a free keep, and this might be game.
They are moving in. The Leftovers want to take this game number one. Goku is the focus. He is rooted up. He's trying to jet propulsion to safety. DAB putting out a bunch of damage here. Blakitny also on that back line, using his heroic to try to get some damage onto that core.
Salvo is in, and the core is falling as the Protector is just shelling away at this point. There is no way for Octalysis to save this. Leftovers, they go in and they take game number one against Octalysis.
That was a very even game for most of the time. Leftovers, they definitely commanded the early game. We got to give that to them. They took so many structures with that first Protector, but then at the very end there, like, I don't know what more to say. Octalysis just completely gave the game over.
Yeah, mostly just shrugging here. He doesn't know either. He's like, I'm fine with this, absolutely. they give up the Protector, and then, of course, on the way back, you see Justin fault on Garrosh.
Yeah.
At that point, you already know, okay, this is going to be it. It was the early game was really strong, but as you said, there were a couple of moments where leftovers, they overstepped slightly, they moved in a bit too deep, especially attacking the bottom keep, and then Octalysis found moments where they could turn it around. But with that last move, leftovers secure themselves the lead in the best of 5.
Fantastic game number 1. Let's hear what our analysts have to say about this game.
An anticlimactic end there, as it looked like Octalysis was making a play to move in, perhaps some miscommunication, no portal coming out, and a completely free Protector goes over to the leftovers.
They were posturing and then nothing. But it was still a fantastic push at the end by leftovers. And overall, Octalysis, throughout the game, they're definitely looking competitive in this series.
You could see it was constant portal play, Garrosh, portal play, Garrosh. And they went for that engagement at the end and came up short. And that was their bread and butter the entire game. That's how things played out in their favor so many times. So much so we're actually going to look back at one of those moments where that did work out and gave them so much control post level 10, especially as we head into a replay here to take a look at some of that, because we know the Medivh and the Garrosh is something that we talked about before for Team Freedom working out so well. And a lot of it is just simply the portal play in general. Obviously, you can see it's trying to split everything here. And when you start to take a look at the members, you can see that they're very much split, leaving Johanna on there. And as we run it forward, we see that obviously Justin goes in. And here's kind of where things get a little crazy, because Justin turns and he's going to land the stun here. And when he does land that stun, that's actually going to force DAB to go ahead and dip on out of there. And when that happens, this has everybody split. Justin with the Indomitable, and now you look at the members of leftovers, and they are so far out of it. And this is allowing Justin and team to now take control of this fight, take control of the control point. And then Goku comes in with the follow-up. And now you see again, it's all about the portal play, the follow-up to set all that up. It doesn't necessarily have to net a kill instantly. It's just a matter of separation, finding that one pick, and then turning things in your favor. And then Justin, oh, by the way, he's like, hey, I've got a couple of members. I can do a taunt here. And he pulls away, isolates the Johanna in that situation. Right before that, had used the Iron Skin. So they know that going forward, that's how the plays unfold and everything in their favor. And they just had so much control. Johanna just trying to walk away from that. The bunker goes down. But it was all about the portal play with the Garrosh going forward. They went for that last engagement at the very end. They didn't find anything, and so, for some reason, they ended up off the control point.
Yeah, it was very clear that they could find kills. I mean, obviously the number was, I believe, 8-3 towards the end there, but the objective play was going over to the leftovers, and that third time it finally happened, it just a little bit too much. Going to game number 2, do we need a different plan from Octalysis, or do you think the leftovers getting those protectors was a bit of a fluke?
I definitely wasn't a fluke. They played fantastically there, but overall, I think that Heroes had a little bit of adjustment might be required. Octalysis, sorry, a little bit of adjustment might be required here, but I still felt good about their playstyle. Goku, especially, I feel his flanks, his engages, his stuns were fantastic, and of course, that solo bunker kill flank with that push in bot lane was just superb. I think just a little bit of reevaluation of how they approach these engagements might be the case. So giving Goku that freedom is still completely fine.
Well, Mopsio getting that victory is getting closer and closer to being on a championship Sunday. We keep talking about him, but he is someone that we have to focus on. Remember, at the last Western Clash, the Zealots were able to go far into the tournament, the grand finals against Dignitas, with Mopsio leading the team, and with them being in here one step ahead, one win here in this best of 5 series. Can they make it all the way to tomorrow?
It seems like it, but the tough task stuff, Octalysis is still standing there. Remember, that was their battleground pick for Octalysis, so they did get defeated on that. But it is one thing very different than we saw Team Freedom. Team Freedom was more opportunistic with their approaches. Octalysis, they're down to fight. They just come in, they throw down, they get the kills. And I think when we start looking at different maps, different objectives, maybe things play out differently. You get more from those kills. We know the control points, they have a long duration to cap, recap, things of that nature. So when we start looking at other battlegrounds, if they can continue to get those types of kills, maybe we get different and better results on the side of Octalysis.
So you described it as down to fight is exactly the issue that we maybe said that Heroes Hearth might have had against leftovers, as they are just so good at fighting. So once again, reevaluating how they're playing around the map can be an important feature here.
Reevaluating and adjusting. Let's go to battleground number 2 and see if we get that adjustment to happen here.